Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll be talking about generational planets. I mentioned this in my last video that I did, and I told you guys that I would come back with a video talking about the generational planets and how everybody plays a role in this collective conscious that we're in. In this video, I'm going to specifically talk about the millennials and the Gen Z generation because I don't want this video to be like super long. And I'm just going to touch on the Uranus and the Neptune placements. Let's just start with the general idea of like we all play a role. So this goes back to the Aquarius energy that I was tapping into in my last video. So with the Aquarius energy, it's about the collective conscious, it's about the group, and it's about humanity. So in our chart, we have generational planets, and we have them for a reason because we all share the same struggles, traumas, fears, beliefs as a whole. Because with generational planets, there's like, you know, the outer planets, they take X amount of years to move different signs. So it's like a lot of people in your age group have the same generational planets as you, such as like your Pluto, your Uranus, and your Neptune. With the generational planets, you have to look to like where it's placed as well. So it shows specifically what you are doing within your generation to help transform or help innovate in some sort of way. We're not going to get into the houses or anything. We're just going to talk about the planet and then the sign. So with the millennial generation, so that's the generation with Uranus in Capricorn and Neptune in Capricorn. We're the generation that grew up under the Capricorn structures of strict authority, strict structures, limitations, shit, karma, all of that stuff. We grew up under a very Saturnian Capricorn kind of energy. And with the millennial generation, we're the generation that basically is the blueprint for this whole spiritual evolution, this whole spiritual movement. While Capricorn has its dark sides with the structures and the limitations and the traditions, Capricorn is the blueprint because it's a cardinal sign. It's the blueprint. It's the foundation. So basically, with the millennial generation, we are the generation that Let's start with the Uranus. Let's talk about Uranus and Capricorn. So Uranus and Capricorn shows how the millennial generation, we basically pop the cap off of everything, basically. Just this whole society, like we just blew the cap off of it in the sense that we just came to the realization, especially as we started to evolve like genetically and within our spiritual DNA, we started to realize like, yo, like this whole fucking society is limiting as hell. And it's like, why the fuck do we have to even do this shit? Why the fuck are we just limiting ourselves to time? And why are we limiting ourselves to jobs, careers? The fifth house, this is where you establish your talent or your skill. And then this is why houses 6 to 10, this is when you refine your skill and your talent. You go out to experience the world, and you establish a career through utilizing your talent or your skill to give assistance to society. But the thing is, with the 10th house, with the career, it's so limiting. And then this is why people still get into careers, even though they're good at it, but they still feel like something's missing. And then this is where Capricorn is like the gateway to the spiritual realm. So basically, once you free yourself from the limitation of the third dimension, the Saturn dimension, because this world is ruled by Saturn. Like, we live on Earth, which is a being in and of itself, but as far as like the society, it's Saturn. And once we break out of Saturn, Capricorn, that's when we get into the 11th house, which is Aquarius. And then this is where you don't have a talent or a skill, it's a gift now. Now you're getting to your soul purpose. Now you're getting into utilizing your gift to help free humanity. That's Aquarius. So there's a little bit about that. I don't want to like get too deep into it because I don't want this video to be super long. But y'all, I got like a deep download, and it's fucking 5 o'clock in the morning right now, and it's like I had to get on here and tell you guys this. So with Uranus and Capricorn, back to what I was saying, like, we just blew the lid off of everything. Like, we are the generation, the millennial generation, that decided, like, we're not going to limit ourselves to these little jobs. We're not going to limit ourselves to time. And we're just not going to limit ourselves, period, to this fucking society, whoever the higher powers in this society are. Like, we're not going to limit ourselves to them. And we're not going to suppress ourselves to them. So this is where the Uranus comes in, as far as like Uranus is a planet of change, rebellion, and innovation, freedom. So it's like the millennial generation, basically, we're the blueprint, and we're basically the pioneers to freedom, basically, to what really freed the society and allowed this society to venture off and push the boundaries and to see what else is out there, right? And then we also open the gateway to allow innovation to come in as well, where we get into Uranus in Aquarius, which is the Gen Z generation. So with the Gen Z generation, they're the ones who are pushing the envelope even further. So basically, they're taking the baton and pushing it even further, because now when Uranus is in Aquarius, so the Gen Z generation has Uranus in Aquarius, it's at home. Aquarius is at home in Uranus. It's in one of its homes, but it's definitely at home in Aquarius, because Aquarius is a sign that likes to act on its own accord and just do things their way. Aquarius is also a sign that really is very more compassionate than people actually give them credit for. Like, Aquarius does really care about the people. They're able to see things that we can't see. And this is why Aquarius, they're very much so ahead of their time, because, you know, they have all the fucking insight. They have all the tea. They have all the tea on, like, what's going on in this whole fucking program society, this whole system, and they also have tea on what's going on in the stars. So it's like the Uranus and Aquarius generation, they're pushing the envelope in the sense that, so it's like the Uranus and Capricorn generation, it's like we basically destroyed the whole structure. And now the Uranus and Aquarius generation, now they're essentially innovating and rebuilding the structure, basically. And, you know, the Uranus and Aquarius generation, you'll find like these people are the ones, like, we're in a time now where it's like everybody is sharing their opinions and basically fighting about what it is that they want and what they need within a group setting or within the collective conscious. Because I honestly do believe that we don't need an authority. This is also a realization that the Uranus and Capricorn generation realized. We don't need to be up under authority. You know, I think we kind of really underestimated our abilities as a whole collective conscious, as a whole society, on our capability of governing ourselves, basically. We underestimated our ability to govern ourselves. We've allowed people that we don't fucking know to control us and control our lives. And then it's like we're living in their reality, because there's so many worlds within this world. Like, you know, the person next to you, they're living in a whole completely different world than you. Like, there's so many worlds within this world, and for some reason we've allowed ourselves to be living in their world under their authority. So it's like the Uranus and Capricorn generation, we came to the realization, like, dude, like, we don't need authority. Like, we could be our own boss. And then this is where the entrepreneur, this is where, you know, I'm going to make my own schedule trend came from. It came from the millennial generation, the Uranus and Capricorn generation. As far as like, I'm making my own rules, I'm making my own schedule, I'm doing my own thing because I'm more than capable of managing myself, right? So with the Uranus and Aquarius generation, what they're teaching us right now is that we could most definitely operate within a society where we're still sovereign, where, you know, we still can be who we want to be and do what we want without harming others, without disrespect, without, you know, just being nasty to each other. We could most definitely, because it's like this idea of authority and structure came from the fear of like, oh, like if we live in chaos, there's like no order. Like, what are we going to do? And then it's gotten to this point where it's too far to the left to where it's like now we're under too much control. But I honestly do believe like we could all function within a society without being overly controlled. Yes, have some structure in the sense what the Uranus in Aquarius generation is teaching us is like the structure is respect, compassion, love, understanding, but we still could be sovereign. We could still be ourselves. We could still make our own decisions, and we don't need no authority. Does that make sense, you guys? Like, I hope, like, this, I just got this transmission, so I didn't really get to, like, organize it. I'm just coming on here and just telling you guys what I just came to the realization of, but we don't need to be up under no authority. We don't need these elites. Hence why their whole structure is falling down completely. And then this is going to lead me into the Neptune aspect, because we're about to get into 15 minutes here, right? So with Neptune in Capricorn, going back to the millennial generation, so with the millennial generation, with the Neptune is a planet of spirituality. It's a planet that dissolves boundaries. It's a planet that has to do with your imagination, your faith, but it also has to do with disillusionment and fear. So I'm going to talk about the disillusionment and fear part. So right now, the Neptune and Capricorn generation, we're getting our sextile to Neptune and Pisces that's currently transiting. So this has allowed us to really evolve and grow spiritually. And as we evolved and grown spiritually, that has really made the veil come down a lot between this world that we live in, the third dimension, and the other dimensions, to where now we're starting to see, since we're in the last 5 degrees of the Neptune and Pisces transit, now we're starting to see behind the veil. Like, now we're starting to really see what's going on in the media, what these elites are doing. Like, everything's exposed, right? Everything has been exposed now. And now we're starting to see how we've been manipulated and disillusioned for a very, very long time. Which is now why we're more in tune with our spirituality now. Why now we're choosing to go beyond these structures, because it's shown us that it's not what it seems. And it's not as stable and safe as we thought it was. Right? So now we're experiencing how we've been disillusioned for a very long time, which is why I feel in this age of Aquarius, because I honestly feel like we're in the age of Aquarius, period, because this is why people are so fed up and angry, because it's like, how could you? You lied to us. Basically, That's how we as the people feel about the people that have been in power. Like, you've lied to us, and that's fucked up, right? So now we're stepping into our spirituality, stepping into our soul purpose, to where now we're doing bigger things beyond this society, because now we realize this society ain't shit. So now we're leaving this shit behind. That's Neptune in Capricorn. So with the Neptune in Aquarius generation, so this is the Gen Z, they haven't gotten their sextile yet, but once Neptune moves into Aries, Aries is going to sextile their Neptune in Aquarius. So then they're going to realize, the Gen Z is going to realize, and even my generation as well, because we're also participating in it, right? So we're going to realize how we've been disillusioned by technology. Because right now, Saturn is in Aquarius, and right now, we're kind of suffering the effects. But I think as we move out of the Saturn in Aquarius, especially because there was like a conjunction with Saturn and Jupiter, like in 2020 or 2021, one of those, we're going to start seeing really the karma of technology, basically, and what it's done to us. We're gonna realize the negative effects of technology, like over time, their technology, because essentially we went through a whole iOS upgrade. Basically, we went from the Capricorn to Aquarius, basically, and like the technology is again their way of keeping control over us and not allowing us to be fully in our spiritual realm, fully connected and immersed in spirit. We don't need any of this shit outside of us. We don't need any of this. We could still be human beings and still be very much so plugged in and connected to source and nature. We don't need any of this shit. So it's about to be 20 minutes of this video. I hope you guys found this insightful, and I hope you guys found this helpful. I hope this video gave you a little bit more understanding of generational planets in your chart. Actually, I'm going to talk more about it, and I'm going to get into the Pluto part of the generational planets. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.